Well, it looks like Oregon is finally gonna let me go.
Goodbye, Oregon. We're back.
In California, or at least we will be back once we cross that little strip of pavement right there. It's subtle,
But it marks the difference between a foreign state and my own state.
we are just south of Brookings, Oregon, obviously right on the California border. Back in the day, I used to stop on the California side like, yeah, look at our big old sign. We got it going on, but look at that sign over there, man, that new sign.
That was not here the last time I was here, dude. Oregon took it up a notch. What in the world?
Looks like California's got a little catching up to do. Speaking of catching up to do, I gotta make up for lost time. I lost my voice yesterday, took things very, very slowly.
I only came down the road about 3 hours from where I spent the night before.
Today, I've got to finally break away from the coast and make tracks back to Southern California. Although it's always difficult to tear myself away from the Pacific Northwest.
Classic California, my home. Looks like we got a little probing station to go through. And now that we've been thoroughly probed, we are clear to continue to make our way down the coast, down 101.
We are free to keep heading down the coast, but it didn't take long for me to stop. Just over the Oregon border is one heck of a landmark. This is the Ship Ashore.
This boat right here has been everything. Restaurant, gift shop.
It's a very famous landmark. The last landmark in California, or the first in California, depending on which way you're going.
This boat has been everything. It was a private yacht. I believe it was commissioned for World War II at one point. It was a restaurant, cocktail lounge,
Museum, and more importantly, from April to May in 1982,
it was the motel office for the Ship Ashore Motel.
the place the cast and crew from Return of the Jedi stayed while they were up in the hills directly across the highway, well, and a little south, filming on the Endor moon. It's very hard to imagine Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and George Lucas out here kicking it on this big old boat on land, maybe getting some cocktails between filming. But yeah, this is where they filmed the majority of the Endor moon stuff, right up here in Smith River, California, right at the very tippy top of the state. You often will hear Jedediah Smith, Redwood State Park, you'll hear Redwood National Park mentioned, and there were some shots filmed in those areas, especially for some of the special effects sequences like the speeder bike chase. But you cannot film explosions and fire and pyro and stunts and stuff in a state or national park. Those old growth redwood trees are protected, and so they had to find private land.
Is this safe to cross over here?
To build the Endor bunker on and to film all the explosions and the battles and the little squibs, or where the blaster shots would hit the trees behind the actors, all that kind of stuff. By the way, the actual motel itself is just a little ways across that field over there, kind of hidden behind those trees. It's still a motel. And so for that, they needed to lease some private old growth redwood forest owned by a lumber company. In fact, the land is still owned by a lumber company. It's just down the highway. By the by, as long as we're standing here in front of the Ship Ashore, the actual motel is over there in the trees across that field. The ship itself was just the sort of namesake for the motel where the cast and crew stayed. And later it was a museum at one point when I was driving around up here. But as you can see, it's been closed for a long time. We'll see if we can get a closer look and just a second cruise down the driveway. But yeah, there it is, the Ship Ashore. Basically the main place you can stop and sort of celebrate Return of the Jedi up here, which is why I wore my Darth Vader Roosevelt shirt today.
Because after all, the Endor moon,
At least in original trilogy terms, was his final resting place.
I like how now it just says motel.
Oh, you know what? There's nothing back here anymore. You gotta come a ways down that driveway, and it takes a while until you actually see the motel itself. And there it is. As you can see, the windows and everything all face out towards the ocean. It's a pretty small place. Resort-wise, it actually used to be much bigger. There were RV sites and all kinds of stuff. I'm not even sure they're actually using this as a motel anymore. All this land is tribal land. It looks to me like they've just sort of let it become private property now. There's a couple more motel rooms back there. You can see the old restrooms for what was the resort, and some of the poles where they used to park RVs and stuff. But looks like for the most part the glory days are gone. You can see right up there in the hills, in the mist, all kinds of redwood trees. It's a pretty interesting spot. Definitely a piece of iconic film history, although an obscure one. It is not far down the coast, down south. And to be honest with you, it's amazing that there was a motel here at all for the cast and crew. I believe a lot of them had to stay in Brookings over there. That was just a few of them stayed here. Because Smith River over here is a pretty tiny settlement, a very obscure part
of the California coast. A very obscure location. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm surprised they found accommodations here at all. Smith River's kind of an obscure place. It's kind of a farming community. There's probably more hay bales here than people still. But this is where they filmed the Endor moon. This is where they found untouched old growth redwood owned by a private company with enough big ancient trees to make it otherworldly. And I mean literally right here in these hills, right across the road from my car. There's actually a few houses over here that back up on to the land, but it is still private logging land. Before you get too excited, I've got to tell you, right after Return of the Jedi, it was all clear cut. So all of the trees from Return of the Jedi were completely cut down. The whole landscape completely changed forever. Then redwood trees take about 30 years to grow back from their roots and stumps. And so right around the 30th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, 7 or 8 years ago, in fact, I was up here and it was all clear cut again. I've held this one close to the vest because I was waiting for years and years to come out here and film a video up there. I've tried to reach out to the lumber company and get official permission, try to get a hold of the neighbors right here. I'm not gonna lie to you, I have been up the logging roads. I have been on the exact spot of the Endor bunker and all those scenes. In fact, I took Allie up there. We were like running up the road. We're like, we only have a couple of minutes to check all this out. And there was bear scat everywhere. There were bees, and she was not a very happy camper when I was doing that. So there was a little bit of mild trespassing there. It was years ago. Don't come after me. And it looks nothing like it does because it was clear cut twice. You can't even see the stumps of the giant trees of Endor anymore. It's really, really hard to figure out where you are. The ground levels are all changed. It's completely different, which is why nobody ever talks about it, and you very rarely ever hear anything other than like the Jedediah Smith Redwood State Park, which you can visit. I don't know, maybe somebody local to Smith River or this area has a connection, or somebody with an inn at the Miller Relum Lumber Company. I'd love to return to Endor one day, do a little filming and not feel like I was gonna get shot or chased out. Anyway, the actual road leading up to the site is just over that rise there, just near Morrison Creek. It's behind a neighborhood, and there's more than one gate to get to the road, much less to the site. But then the roads go a little way south, so the hills of the Endor moon are just here. Basically, right near this beautiful tribal casino and fuel mart billboard. Amazing, man, amazing. Anyway, I know that's a weird place to start, but one, I think Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. And two, I figure, why not throw it out there? Maybe one of you can make my camping on the Endor moon dream come true. I don't have to sleep there if there's insurance reasons not to, but I just love to be back up there. I'll sign any kind of release you want. It's funny because redwood trees are so tall looking up at those hills. It's funny, another spot I've been to but never filmed right up here is the E.T. Creek, where they find E.T. all pale white in the creek, and also the redwoods where the ship lands and where Elliot's putting the Reese's Pieces. Those are all over here in Fort Dick, California, just behind a residential neighborhood. I'm tempted to go over there and like fool around in people's backyards and the trees. Like I said, today I've got to make some distance, so if anybody knows anybody up here, that's another thing to add to the mission. If I can come back for a little Endor action. I was just thinking I'd pay so much money to do Camp Endor up there. All right, anyway, I gotta make some miles. I'll see you guys in a couple seconds. All right, well, I made a quick pit stop over here in Crescent City. Drives me crazy to move through all these areas so fast because each one of these towns has interesting stuff in it, and obviously the coastal scenery is unparalleled, not to mention the froth courses. Okay, just made a quick pit stop in Crescent City. We're not far from our next destination. One of California's most epic and historic tourist attractions is just down the road, which, by the way, at this point is officially the old Redwood Highway, US 101. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to tear myself away from the coast. It's gonna be hard. It's beautiful, and cross overland and really head down in earnest. Luckily, one of California's most historic and iconic roadside attractions is just down the road here, and it's not just any road. This portion of US 101 is the historic Redwood Highway. This whole highway twists and turns through some of the most beautiful scenery on planet Earth. Misty, mysterious groves of old growth redwoods, literally the tallest living things on the planet, trees that are thousands of years old just right off the highway, sometimes sitting basically in the highway. Literally the tallest living things on the planet, trees that can be literally thousands of years old. Speaking of Endor, man, you can walk off this highway in almost any direction, and the
Redwood State Park's portions. And you could almost forget there even was a mankind. It is just that primeval. If you ever have a chance to come up and do the Redwood Highway, I highly recommend it. Add it to your bucket list. Although it doesn't nearly get the attention that other historic highways do, like Route 66, there is a lot of history here. I've done some Redwood Highway history episodes on this channel. I mean, to me, it's just the most beautiful place on earth. It's amazing. I mean, not only do you have untouched Endor-like forests, but also beautiful coastlines. It's gorgeous. Get out here. I mean, every pullout on this highway has something to offer. I love all of America's scenery. In fact, in just a couple of days, we're going to be in wildly different scenery. But the beauty of the California and Oregon coastline and the Redwood Highway is unparalleled. But in terms of historic highways, the beauty of the Redwood Highway is unparalleled, in California anyway. And it's not just untouched ancient forests and giant trees, it's also the beauty of the California coast, the ocean, which I'm just taking a last longing farewell look at before we take a quick peek at one of my favorite roadside attractions ever, just 5 minutes down the road. We're back at the Trees of Mystery. And would you look at the size of Paul Bunyan, dude, a 40'9" tall lumberjack. And not just any 49-foot tall, almost 10 alleys tall, by the way, lumberjack. This one's talking to all the guests. Look at him waving up there. Yes!
And a big wink too.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know he could wink. What the heck? Dude, Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox would be enough to make this a worthwhile stop. But Trees of Mystery has been open here since 1931 under one name or another. The first Paul Bunyan built out of paper mache was built just after World War II in the 1940s.
And a big wink too. I'm glad everybody's here. Hope you're having a great time. Babe looks like he's having some fun. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing or what he's thinking because, well, he's an ox. Oxes are mysterious. And Babe's more mysterious than most.
Looks like Babe is undergoing a little restoration over here, as the sign says. Being 35 feet tall and weighing 30,000 pounds can take a toll on an ox. After 73 years, it's actually not the first time Babe has needed a little freshening up. In 2007, his whole head fell off and had to be replaced. He had a headectomy. Anyway, unlike the last several episodes I filmed here, I don't got all day. I just like lingering out here because Paul Bunyan is probably the only guy in California with bigger feet than me that's not in the NBA. And at this point, I've been out to Trees of Mystery so many times that seeing Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox is like visiting with old friends. All right, I'm gonna head inside the gift shop here and grab myself a coffee and then hit the trail, meaning the Trees of Mystery trail, not hitting the road. Ooh, hello there, Harry. It's one of my favorite places on the world. Ooh, look at all the Babe merch out here. Oh, that's a new Paul Bunyan. I haven't seen that one before. I've noticed a lot of this in the forest the last couple of years. The amount of banana slug merchandise is really growing. I just had slug coffee up in Astoria, Oregon for the Goonies weekend, which is why I was up there visiting inside the restored Goonies house. Oh my gosh, I love these. Some more buddies. There's a beautiful and truly extensive Native American museum in here. It's one of the few roadside attractions in California that pays a lot of attention to Native American history and culture. In fact, there's a bigger museum for the Native American stuff than there is for the history of Trees of Mystery itself. But there are some displays of old Trees of Mystery merch. And I have to admit, I'm always looking on eBay for some of this ancient Trees of Mystery stuff. It's so awesome. I like that there's a little axe throwing kit here. I mean, really, there's a little bit of everything here. They got Smokey the Bear merch. You got tons of Bigfoot stuff, lots of teddy bears. Hey, look at this guy. Have I ever seen this guy before? Most importantly, coffee for $2. Just be careful. This stuff will burn your tongue off. It is piping hot. All right, now that I've been properly fortified, it's time to head up into the Trees of Mystery. Now, it is $30 to enter Trees of Mystery, but this place is huge and there's a lot to do. Starting with the trees themselves. There's quite a gathering here of weird and unusual trees, or at least trees that seemed weird and unusual to visitors from the East Coast or from Southern California, from all over the United States. When automobile travel became a thing, trees that were so astounding to visitors, they made it into Ripley's Believe It or Not. Dude, if you ever wanted to learn about trees, this is the place. And they got some big ones here. And they stretch all the way up on top of the hills. Look at that right angle branch right there. You're gonna see a lot of things like that. Lightning trees, candelabra trees, giant coastal redwoods. These were the original attractions. But of course, over the years and decades, they've added many more. If you want Endor, you want to go full Ewok, this is the place to do it. Because just in the last 10 years, they've added one of the craziest attractions I've ever done. It takes a little hill climbing to get there. But right on top of this hill behind the lightning tree. But in 2018, they added this. The Redwood Canopy Trail. There's a lot of places to see the redwoods from, but not a lot of places to see them like this. It's amazing and beautiful. I just wish I could look at it. I forgot how absolutely terrifying this was. Dude. Word to the wise. Once you get up in the Redwood Canopy Trail, it takes a long time to get all the way through. Oh, my legs are weak. I thought I'd be okay. Because my son and I just did the Redwood Canopy Trail just a couple of years ago together. I had forgotten how absolutely terrifying it was. Well, if you're not already a tree hugger, this trail will make you one. Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse, eat your heart out. Okay. I gotta make it to the end. It's a little easier because I'm by myself, so I can just look up and not think about it too much. Also, I've done it before, so I'm less terrified that the bridges won't hold. If you want to see pure unedited first-time fear, just go back and watch that video that London and I did up here a couple years ago. Oh my gosh, okay. I'll see you at the bottom. All right, there was near fainting. There might have been some crying. I'm not saying it was me. Could have been that little girl right there. But no, okay. She's braver than me. All right, I made it to the end. There was some near fainting. There might have been a little bit of crying. I'm not saying it was me, just saying there might have been some crying on this trail. The actual Endor filming location might have been completely raised and then grown up new trees and then raised again. R-A-Z-E-D, you know what I'm saying? Raised to the ground. And also private property and impossible to visit, but the Redwood Canopy Trail is sort of a nice runner-up prize if you want to get your Ewok on. Dude, those little teddy bears are brave. Also, I can't help it. Whenever I'm in the Redwoods, all I hear is that weird whoop Endor sound, you know what I'm talking about? Man, that took a whole caravan of courage to do that. All right, what were we talking about again? Oh yeah, trees of mystery. Yes, there's a lot to do here. Even for dogs. Because once you complete the walking trail that winds through the trees of mystery themselves, which, by the way, includes this beautiful tree cathedral here, one of my favorite spots, with one of my favorite inscriptions ever. Just pause it, take a screenshot, and read that. It's beautiful. You will find yourself at the beautiful interpretive center, where there's some much-needed clean restrooms, very cool information about the redwoods, about life up in the canopy, and all the other plants and animal species that depend on the forest, which I know we barely have time to see. You've got the Brotherhood tree, dedicated to the Brotherhood of Man, 297 feet tall, with a 19-foot diameter. That means this tree is thicker than most cars are long. It is gigantic. Gargantuan. And then behind it, I don't know if you can hear that whirring noise. It's one of the other more modern attractions that used to be the most terrifying attraction here until they added that canopy trail. The sky gondolas that go up to the top of the mountain. Before you get there, though, look at this. There's some information about logging because this forest was logged at one point. So a lot of the trees of mystery are some of the only ancient trees left in this area. I mean, there's other preserved groves of ancient trees around. Plenty of them, really, but you can never have too many. A lot of information about the trees. The redwood trees actually covered most of planet Earth until the Ice Age. I think there's some species in China, and then basically here in the Sierras and on the West Coast. All that's left of redwood forest that covered the entire Earth. So this ecosystem isn't just ancient, it is literally primordial. That's why it's the perfect place for prehistoric gardens that we visited yesterday with all them dinosaurs. All right, there's nobody here, which is good, because this thing scares the hello operator out of me. It's easier if there's no strangers in there touching me and watching me cry. Look at this. I like this little tip jar here. Dude, I will never, ever, ever be able to wrap my brain around how this all works without the little gondola cars just snapping off the cables, especially when they go over those poles and rollers. I've had it explained to me many times. I'm just never gonna understand. All right, gotta get out there on those Bigfoot footprints. All right, here we go. I'm gonna jump in. Wish me luck, everybody. Goodbye. All right, goodbye, Earth. Goodbye, terra firma. Oh boy, here we go up into the trees. Any second now, it's gonna pick up speed, dude. Oh my gosh, it's bouncing. All right, at least I know what to expect, right? Like any second, all of a sudden, it just starts to, it just starts to go, man. It just starts to go. Oh yeah, I'm glad they added the canopy trail in a way. It literally does make it less terrifying. Not and terrifying, just less. One sort of little, oh, watch for the, so scary. Ooh, I forgot about this part. Oh, why is it slowing down? Oh, fudge, it starts rocking when you slow down. It starts rocking a little bit. Okay, I take it all back. I take it all back. I was gonna say there's sort of one little vent hole here where you could get a clear look to the outside, but I don't want to look that way. For some morbid reason, I just want to look down. Oh, it got so quiet. See, we're not entirely stopped. This is because somebody's loading and unloading at the stations on either end. Oh, help me. Why is it slowing down so much? Oh, there we go. Thank God. It picked up a little steam again. I'd forgotten that originally in my head I was thinking, oh, we'll just stop by. I'll just show you some clips of it. I don't need to go to the top. What am I doing? Getting my 30 bucks worth, I guess. Oh, I can edit that out, right? I don't need to keep the scream in. I could look macho. Oh, thank God. Oh, see why I like going alone? First time I ever did this, they put me with strangers. And there was a lot of laughter. Cruel. Oh, jumping Jiminy Crickets. Oh, I survived. Oh, it is not hot out here, but I am so sweaty now. Oh, there is a trail, a 1 mile trail to get back down to the bottom. If I wasn't in such a hurry, I would almost certainly do that. What I'm gonna do instead is head to the top where they have a beautiful observation trail. You can look out towards the coast or look inland towards the mountains. Very beautiful, covered with forest. Then I'm going to head back to the bottom with my eyes 100% completely closed, praying and screaming in blissful solitude. Also, if you're not comfortable with heights, there is a restroom up there, and I do recommend using it before you come down to avoid any accidents. Oh, and before I forget, there is a smoking area up there too. If you'd have told me that before I ever got in one of those gondolas, I would have said why. Now I get it. I'm surprised there isn't a drinking and crying area up here too. Ooh. Ooh. I'm not going to tell you I kissed the ground when I got out of there, but I'm not going to tell you I didn't. Why would anyone like that? I don't know. I'm stumped. You can see here, even when they logged the old growth redwoods, the way they start growing back in a ring around the original stumps. Even when giant redwoods died thousands of years ago, thousands and thousands of years ago, you'll see these almost ring-like formations where the young trees grow out of the roots. That's why you see so many massive, like 2,000-year-old redwoods that look like they're growing next to each other. You'll see like twin trees. Those will be the survivors of the sort of cluster that grew out of the old fallen trees back in the day. It's funny because man did his best to destroy the redwood forests. It only takes about 30 years, as long as they leave the stumps behind, for even more redwoods to sprout up. All right, well, here you have the candelabra tree. You can see 3 new trees growing right out of this old fallen log. But I think you get the idea now when it comes to the trees of mystery. Time for us to scoot on down to the bottom of the trail towards the exit and the trail of tall tales. There's a whole bunch of amazing carvings down here. And look at this! A banana slug. Look at him! Look at him slugging it out over here. Weird. I mean, I've seen them before, but it's very few and far between. Very rare. I would have sat there and watched them for longer, but it seems like it was going to take a while. Anyway, the Trail of Tall Tales. All kinds of amazing bas-relief redwood carvings. You get the story of Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox on this trail, along with dozens of other old logging legends. A couple of interactive elements here now. Some legendary animals. I've always loved these ones right here. So weird. Best of all, you got this one right here. Mosquito Rex Redwoodius. And okay, the mosquitoes may not be that big up here in the redwoods, but there are billions of them. Add them all together, and that's what they feel like when they're on you. I almost forgot about the super duper snooper over here. Anyway, you get the idea. We've got plenty of Trees of Mystery episodes back here on this channel, as well as Redwood Highway stuff. I highly recommend giving it a look. I mean, if you're into history and roadside attractions, historic highways, stuff like that, just search Redwood Highway, Randomland, or Trees of Mystery. They'll all pop up. All right, anyway, having successfully avoided Choker Charlie up there and taken a picture of this to send to my lady love, Allie, we finally made it back down to and through the gift shop and back to Paul Bunyan. It's 100% worth the money to come here to Trees of Mystery, but I will tell you, for an adult, it's 30 bucks. I only bring that up just so you can plan accordingly if you head up this way. Worth your while, worth your time, worth your money. I'm sure glad I stopped in, but it's time to wave goodbye to Paul Bunyan and then head back down the old Redwood Highway for just a little longer before we strike out over the mountains towards Bigfoot country.
You know, people spend an awful lot of money to take their family to theme park destinations or out on cruises, and those float my boat too and everything. For a fraction of the cost, there sure is a lot of beautiful America to explore. It's wonderful, man. Absolutely wonderful. Oh man, I have such a love-hate with days like today because we finally turned away from the coast, turned inland. Been driving on California 299 eastward through the mountains, pretty remote mountains actually, which is the love part of the equation. The hate part of the equation is that we're headed to a town that is so historic and important in the legend and lore of Bigfoot. And normally, this is the kind of place where I'd want to be for a couple of days and tell you the entire backstory and the history and get all deep down into the woods. I hate just passing through like this. But the town we're headed to is called Willow Creek, California. But at the same time, this little town up in the mountains is so legendary, I'm stoked to be here at all, even to pass through. Welcome to Willow Creek, California, the Bigfoot capital of the world. It was just outside of this town, about 25 miles north, that Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin filmed the now famous footage of Bigfoot in the California wilderness. Full disclosure, by the way, I'm not saying that I fully believe in Bigfoot, but I want to believe. But anyway, because Willow Creek is the closest town to the Bluff Creek Patterson Gimlin film location, it has become the center of Bigfoot festivals. You always see this museum behind me and documentaries about Bigfoot, all those Discovery Channel things. Even that show, yes, Finding Bigfoot. That's the thing that made me not believe in Bigfoot anymore. Full disclosure. And I had donated so much to the BFRO because I thought they were scientific till I saw that show. Maybe the show just presented it wrong. That's a whole other discussion. Anyway, this town's a little rough and tumble. I have been out here before, although I have not yet actually hiked down to the Patterson Gimlin filming location. I have not hiked down to Bluff Creek. I was hoping maybe to get a chance to do that today. Like I said, it's 25 miles out on logging roads, out in the middle of nowhere. And then on top of that, you gotta hike down into the creek bed, and it's a whole ordeal. I got a ton of friends who've actually been down there, including some who have been on some of those travel show documentaries. Anyway, I made it here way too late in the day to be hunting Bigfoot by myself up in the mountains. And unfortunately, even too late to go inside of the museum, which does have an absolutely incredible collection of Bigfoot casts, right? Casts of the footprints of Bigfoot. Let me see how I measure up here. Let's see. You know what? Bigfoot's foot is not all that much bigger than my foot. Yikes, look at the size of them. Although actually, to be fair, I guess he's not wearing sneakers. Anyway, it's weird to go from like 57 degrees along the coast to, I don't know how warm out here, but very warm. Like I said, I've been out here before, and every single time I've come here, no matter what time of year, it's like boiling hot. I've never come in the dead of winter because it's packed with snow, so apparently Willow Springs is either boiling hot or freezing cold. Like I said, this is sort of the epicenter of the whole Bigfoot region. There are still lots of sightings around here, especially near Hoopa, like on Indian reservation land or Native American reservation land. There are still sightings in these remote mountains. They're still very remote. There's a lot of Native American reservations up here, stuff like that. A lot of land that'll be logged like every 30, 40 years or so, but otherwise is completely not visited by human beings. So you still have a lot of Bigfoot hunters come up here, curious tourists, people like me, just random adventurers, people who want to get fun pics to send to grandma. Whoa! That's the weirdest thing ever, dude. Look at this fun pic over here. That hole is way up there. I had to stand on this metal bar to get that pic. It's like only Bigfoot can take a pic of himself pretending to be Bigfoot. Okay, that's a little diversion there. Sorry for the digression. I think my point was just that curious looky-loos interested in, or at least amused by Bigfoot, often head this way, but it is definitely still a remote mountain town. It's not exactly teeming with tourists, very rough around the edges, a lot of sketch in them there woods, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes things get a little methed up in the California wilderness. Oh, did I lisp there? Anyway, as I say, I came to town after the museum was closed. I was hoping to buy another print of the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot track. Let me see if Ray's Food Place has anything. Let's see, Father's Day cards, produce, bananas, Jelly Bellies. Oh, looks like sometimes they got hot food to grab and go. Maybe that's why Bigfoot was in the area. But so far, I don't see any souvenirs. This is the main store for town, dude. See, it's just not that kind of place. Whether you think it's fortunate or unfortunate, except for special events, this town has not gone full kitsch, you know? It hasn't gone full Bigfoot yet.
They do have these, though. Laser sword. I'm gonna have to give you one of these.
I did get a bag of Skittles in there, just so I wasn't only a looky-loo and a sticker, but it wasn't even a Bigfoot sticker. It's just a sticker that said, go outside. Oh, look at this. On the side of the road, there's a little history rock right here saying that Jedediah Smith and Josiah Gregg
two G's at the end of that, Greg, came through here. Two famous explorers. That's kind of interesting. That little building to the left, that is the public library. Looks like half of it's a garage for some kind of actually, no, only half the building looks like it might be the library. Very small town, very tiny. So far, I don't see any Bigfoots. I think my feet are the biggest ones in town at the moment. I remember there being a good coffee place right over here. Look at that, the Osprey Cafe. But it's closed right now. Oh, look at this, the Bigfoot Cannabis Company. Maybe that's why he was in town. Dude, it is so quiet up here. So weird. I mean, there's a couple of people screaming and talking to each other and fighting with each other in the park, but other than that, nothing is going on. Look here, you have the Bigfoot Motel. Wow, 31 units, cable TV. I've heard very mixed opinions about staying in the Bigfoot Motel. I have never had the pleasure. It is a cool looking building though. Old school. Oh, and I almost missed the Bigfoot Saw Me sticker by the door. One of the only Bigfoot things I've seen in town. I mean, maybe tourism was bigger here in the 90s when all those Discovery Channel shows were at their peak, or the early 2000s. But, ooh, that might be useful. Dude, at the moment, not all that much Bigfoot going down in town today. I probably should have saved this walk for a future video. I will come back. That's also what I said to myself the last time I was here and didn't film. So just like with Endor this morning, and actually a lot of other places I've been stopping by this entire year, I'm done with the whole, I'm waiting for the conditions to be perfect to at least show you what I'm looking into and trying to share with you guys more stuff that I'm actually doing as it happens. Dang, the cool little store with the giant record painted on the side of it is closed. The espresso place is closed. The whole town shuts down after 5 p.m., I guess. My plan is tonight is to basically drive all the way back to Sacramento, or at least as close to it as I can get, and then whoosh, go all the way home from there tomorrow. Be interesting to see how far I get. By the way, this is the back of the Bigfoot Motel. Now I see a little bit of Bigfoot action. Look at that, property protected by Bigfoot. Got a big old Bigfoot on the wall, Bigfoot crossing, a Bigfoot cage. Look at that, that looks like it'd be pretty effective. I know it was harder to tell from the front, but this is why I say it's such an interesting looking building. Look at the shape of that roof and everything. Very bizarre, very unique. So is that cage, man. That thing is hardcore. That thing might be able to contain everybody's mother-in-law. No, let's not be ridiculous. I love this though. You've seen this in a lot of old 90s Bigfoot documentaries. The Bigfoot Motel sign. It's just a big old foot with the word motel on it. I like that. That was worth a stop. Anyway, from here, what's that? Oh, just the cutout. I got about 4 or 5 hours down to the Sacramento area. Oh, look at those weird colorful mosaics in the back of the Bigfoot Motel. That's so strange. Well, anyway, I probably gotta head on down the road here pretty soon. Probably wrap up the filming of this particular very random, very strange adventure. Like I said, my plan was to go down and at least look at the Patterson-Gimlin film site, hunt for Bigfoot a little bit, but I got here about 4 or 5 hours later than I thought I was going to. Just got done with the Goonies weekend up in Astoria, Oregon. That's what I'm on the way back from. And although maybe it might be like one of the most fun trips I've ever taken in my life. It was amazing over there. If you're a Goonies fan anyway, apparently it took a lot out of me. I was only getting like 2 or 3 hours of sleep per night for a couple days. Then last night I tried to get a bunch of sleep, but still sluggish and slow. Got up super late, but I have a feeling Willow Creek isn't going anywhere, and Bluff Creek's certainly not going anywhere. It's probably been over there for millions of years. So we'll see if we can make it happen some other time. Maybe next summer, some local will guide me down there. Somebody who knows what they're doing. Oh, there was another Bigfoot I was gonna linger by and show you, but a very kind gentleman showed up and told me that Bigfoot was transporting rocks to stop international terrorism and that he shot a Bigfoot in Saudi Arabia. No, I am not kidding or exaggerating. Then his buddies back there in the park started chiming in with some other stuff that made even less sense. So I figure it's probably a sign for me to move on down the road. I realize right now I just made that sound like it was a short conversation. That was about a 10-minute conversation. When shirtless individuals in the middle of the mountains want to talk to you about Bigfoot, it's hard to get away with a short one. At least I think we were talking about Bigfoot. It's hard to be sure. It is crazy being up here in this general area though, if you're into Bigfoot, right? And I grew up being very into Bigfoot, if not a little scared of Bigfoot. So before I sign off and start panic driving, I'm gonna try to find a little nook we can pull out into the woods just to get the vibe, right? Like what's the real Bigfoot country like? Just pulled over a little ways outside of town because I saw this little hardware store over here, and look who's up on the roof holding the American flag. Heck yeah, man, nothing's more American than Bigfoot. Now, I mentioned that I've been here before, but I've never gone east out of town. So I always kind of assumed there would be more, right? Like, oh, we'll find some more Bigfoot stuff out here. Nope. Town just sort of ended. There were some epic bridges, and I saw a lot of creeks and rivers and woods, a couple little houses here and there. That was about it. We're already down to the to the next town, into the next county. Some of it's obviously seen more prosperous days, that's for sure. Looks like we had a little Bigfoot over the grocery store there. But mostly I'm seeing a lot of stuff that tells me that this area has seen more prosperous days in the past. Definitely a lot of people who know a thing or two about hard times that have seen some struggles up in this part of California. It's very remote, and there's a lot of, how do I put this, interesting farming up here, a lot of motorcycle gang activity, lots of just weird stuff happens up here. Not just weird like Bigfoot, but there's a lot of little resorts up here, a lot of rivers, a lot of fishing, a lot of hiking. There's a lot to do, but kind of like going out to see Area 51 or something like that. If you're just coming out here because you think you're gonna see Bigfoot and have a lark, like, yeah, just be prepared for what's actually here, you know? Man, definitely not a lot of travelers in this area today. Look at this, I am the only one at this little tiny rest area up here. Traveled through a lot of regions like this where I see a lot of old river resorts, and you can tell there used to be a lot more tourism out here. I mean, it's June, right? It's summer vacation already, especially in California. All those places should be packed. Instead, they're kind of abandoned, kind of sad looking. When I was out in front of that closed hardware store, a CHP officer pulled up on me before I pulled out. That would be California Highway Patrol. Just asked me what I was doing. He's like, traveling alone? I said, yeah. He's like, be careful out there. Be careful stopping places. It always breaks my heart when you travel through a beautiful, beautiful area and there's so little going on. That's because highway travel just became a thing of the past for a lot of families. Either they just aren't able to afford the classic American road trip style vacation like they used to in the past. That's part of it, maybe. Or, and I think this cuts closer to the truth of the matter, at least according to most historians, our culture just changed dramatically with the interstates. You know, people don't really go on the old family road trip on the back roads and stop at every little place anymore, and especially nowadays, you know, like I said, people save up, they go to Disney World, or airplane travel got a lot easier. They might head off to Europe or over to Japan or somewhere like that. And I know for a fact, growing up in a coastal elites sort of environment, meaning just a city fried West Coast environment, that a lot of people who grew up and live in big cities, which is where the increasing majority of our country lives, they just don't see any value in coming out and exploring the back roads and seeing America. I think they think that a bunch of Americans are just a bunch of backwoods rednecks and there's nothing going on. That has always hurt me the most, man. That is just so not true. All right, well, I didn't realize just how late it had actually gotten, nor how steep and twisty this route would be. And as bright as it looks at the moment, the sun will surely be going down very soon. So I just wanted to get into sort of the environment that Bigfoot was seen in, to show you how different it is from the coastal redwoods. That's the more touristy area where everybody's always at. This part of the forest is much more dry, you know, it's a little bit different. You don't get the stereotype the way you do sort of in the redwood coast over there. Somebody pointed out to me though, like, if Bigfoot's around, he's not gonna be in the redwoods, because the redwoods, for the most part, is all redwood trees and ferns and stuff like that. He's gonna be up here where things are a little more diverse. There's more berries, more animals. Very interesting, very interesting. Anyway, the camera batteries are going to die. The memory card is hecka full. I filmed a lot more than I thought I would today. And I hate to say this, but I've been looking and looking. I don't think today is the day we're gonna find Bigfoot. So I'm cruising back to the old Central Valley of California. I think it's time for me to put the camera down and concentrate a little more. I know this is sort of a random adventure. It's one of those recon style adventures where I'm looking around a little bit, but also I'm headed home from that Major Goonies adventure this weekend. But if you enjoy adventures like this, you wanna see more of them, we have well over 1,000 other episodes on this channel. I got no sponsors, I got no cash coming in from anywhere. This is all viewer funded, so if you want to help support adventures like this, they 100% depend on people like you. You, in fact, watching them, sharing them with your friends you think will like them. And of course, if you really want to go the extra distance, we've got sick hats, my book, and all kinds of other stuff, including Patreon. You can find all that information in the description or over at randomland.com. That's enough for me. I think I've done my duty. It's time for me to get farther on the road to going home and sleeping well. See you on the next one. Dooby-dooby-doo, lot of construction in the mountains, lot of stops,
Wait a minute. Hey!
Guys, something's been following me. I think something's been following me down from the mountains. Some kind of creature. It's been following me all along the highway. Every time I use the restroom in the bushes or I pull over, I can hear the footsteps. Doesn't matter if I'm on a road, on a trail. Did you hear that? I can hear it. It's moving around everywhere. Oh, I can't go up. I can't go down. I can't go back to the car. I can hear it. I can feel it. It's right behind this wall. Oh, no. Oh, it got behind me. It's right here. It's right around the corner. I don't think I can look. You guys look. I'm gonna close my eyes. I put the camera around the corner. What is it?